Hey there. Before we dive into today's story, remember to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you want to join me on this amazing language learning journey. Click the notification bell too, so you won't miss any of our future lessons and stories. Also, I'd love to hear about your own English learning experiences in the comments below. Now, let me share with you a story that changed my life forever. Hi, I'm Emily Anderson, and I want to share my journey of learning English with you. Every morning in our small East Los Angeles apartment, I would wake up to the sound of Beatles songs drifting through the walls, a ritual as consistent as my mother's tamales on Sundays. That's where my journey with English began, though I didn't know it at the time. Growing up in a Mexican household in the 1990s, Spanish was our sanctuary, our bridge to family and tradition. My parents had moved to LA just before I was born, and for them, English remained a mysterious code they hadn't quite cracked. I would hear them practice. Buenos dias flowed naturally, while good morning stumbled awkwardly off their tongues. But I found magic in those Beatles records my father cherished. While he worked double shifts at the local diner, those vinyl discs became my secret teachers. I would sit cross-legged on our worn carpet, my ear pressed close to the speaker, trying to catch every unfamiliar sound, every strange word that Paul McCartney and John Lennon sent floating through our living room. Looking back now, as I teach ESL students in Boston, I often think of that little girl I was, desperately trying to sing along to "I Want to Hold Your Hand," without understanding a single word. This is my story, and I hope it inspires others finding their own path to English fluency. Those Beatles songs were just the beginning. At home, Spanish wrapped around us like a warm blanket, the language of love, of scolding, of daily life. But step outside our door, and English was everywhere. Street signs, TV commercials, conversations at the supermarket, all of them mysteries I was desperate to solve. My first day of school hit me like a wave. I remember clutching my backpack, standing in the hallway while English words swirled around me like leaves in the wind. My classmates chatted effortlessly, while I struggled to catch even a single familiar word. That's when I started carrying my little green notebook everywhere. It began as a music journal, carefully copied Beatles lyrics, matched with their Spanish translations. But soon, it became my survival guide. I wrote down everything. Words I heard in the playground, phrases my teachers used, even the slogans from TV commercials. Each evening I'd sit at our kitchen table, dictionary in hand, decoding these new treasures while Mom cooked dinner. My parents watched my efforts with a mixture of pride and concern. "No te preocupes tanto," my mother would say, worried I was pushing too hard. But I couldn't stop. Each new word felt like a small victory, a tiny piece of this new world I was determined to understand. Some nights, I'd lie in bed, whispering English words to myself like secrets. Hello. Thank you. Please. Basic phrases that felt like keys to a locked door. I practiced until they felt natural on my tongue, until they became part of me. My breakthrough came during an ordinary English class. The teacher was drilling us on pronunciation, and my classmates struggled with the th sound in this and that. But when my turn came, the words flowed naturally. Years of singing along with the Beatles had unknowingly trained my ear and tongue. That moment changed everything. I started expanding my musical horizons beyond my father's records. Madonna, Michael Jackson, Queen. Each artist became a new teacher. I'd spend hours with my Walkman, rewinding cassettes over and over, writing down lyrics, and matching them with dictionary definitions. My method was simple, but effective. First, I'd listen to a song without looking at the lyrics, trying to catch as many words as I could. Then, I'd write down what I thought I heard, often hilariously wrong, but that was part of the learning process. Next came the actual lyrics, carefully copied from album sleeves or music magazines. Finally, I'd compare my version with the real one, marking each mistake as a lesson learned. The magic wasn't just in the words, it was in the context, the emotions, the stories. Through Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, I learned about dramatic storytelling. Madonna's Material Girl taught me idioms and social commentary. Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror introduced me to metaphors and deeper meanings. My teachers noticed the improvement. In class, I started raising my hand more often, no longer afraid of mispronouncing words. My writing assignments began featuring song lyrics as examples. Even my accent, that stubborn marker of being different, started smoothing out, not disappearing completely, but transforming into something that was uniquely mine. Soon, other ESL students were asking for my secret. I started sharing my notebook, creating copies of my song lists, and even organizing small study groups where we'd listen to music together. Without realizing it, I was taking my first steps toward becoming a teacher. Despite my progress with music, some barriers seemed insurmountable. Speaking in class was one thing, casual conversation was another entirely. I'd freeze when native English speakers approached me, my carefully practiced words evaporating like morning dew. The fear of making mistakes paralyzed me. My turning point came during lunch break one day. Sarah, a classmate who always seemed intimidating in her perfect English, sat next to me. "I love your accent," she said. "It's like music." Those simple words shattered something inside me. The wall I'd built between them, native speakers, and me, the eternal learner. That's when I realized my biggest obstacle wasn't vocabulary or grammar. It was fear. Fear of judgment, of not being perfect, of revealing my struggles. But music had taught me something valuable. Even the greatest songs have imperfect moments, and that's what makes them beautiful. I started pushing myself beyond my comfort zone. I joined the school's drama club, where mistakes weren't just accepted, they were part of the rehearsal process. I volunteered at the library's reading hour, where kids didn't care about my accent as long as the stories were engaging. Each small step forward built my confidence. The most challenging barrier was the voice in my head, the one that constantly whispered, "You'll never sound like them." Eventually, I learned to answer back. I don't need to sound like them. I need to sound like me. My real breakthrough came when I stopped treating English as a subject to master and started seeing it as a living thing to experience. I began watching Friends without Spanish subtitles, forcing myself to understand through context and expression. Rachel, Monica, and the gang became my constant companions, their jokes and daily dramas teaching me the rhythms of natural conversation. I immersed myself completely. I switched my phone's language to English, started reading young adult novels, and even began keeping a diary in English. Each entry was a mix of broken sentences and creative spelling, but I was finally thinking in English, rather than translating from Spanish. The transformation was gradual but profound. One morning, I caught myself dreaming in English. Another day, I realized I'd just had a 10-minute conversation with my chemistry teacher without once searching for words. These small victories added up to something bigger. True fluency was emerging. My grades reflected this change. From struggling to keep up in English literature, I moved to the advanced placement class. My essays, once basic and hesitant, began exploring complex themes. Teachers who had once given me sympathetic smiles were now asking me to tutor other ESL students. The most meaningful moment came when I helped my parents order at a restaurant, and the waiter complimented my perfect English. I smiled, knowing it wasn't perfect. It was authentically mine. The decision to become an ESL teacher wasn't a sudden revelation. It grew naturally from my experiences. During my senior year of high school, while helping other students with their English homework, I discovered something powerful. My struggles had given me unique insight into the learning process. I applied to Boston University's education program with an essay about learning English through Beatles songs. The admission officer later told me it was my personal approach to language learning that caught their attention. Moving to Boston was terrifying and exciting, like learning English all over again, but this time with a different accent to navigate. College taught me the theory behind language acquisition, but my real education came from remembering my own journey. In my teaching methods, I combined traditional approaches with what I'd learned through music and media. Each lesson plan incorporated songs, shows, or movies, turning grammar and vocabulary into living, breathing things. My first teaching job was at a community center in Boston, working with recent immigrants. Looking into their anxious faces, I saw myself, that scared little girl from East LA. "Bring your favorite songs," I told them on the first day. "We're going to learn English your way." Now, watching my students progress, seeing their confidence grow, I know I've found my calling. Every small victory they achieve reminds me of my own journey. Looking back at my journey, I realized that learning English wasn't just about mastering a language, it was about finding my voice. The little girl who once pressed her ear against a speaker listening to Beatles songs now helps others find their path to fluency. Here's what I've learned. There's no perfect way to learn English. Your journey should be as unique as you are. Use what you love, whether it's music, movies, books, or games, as your learning tools. Don't be afraid of mistakes. They're stepping stones, not stumbling blocks. To those starting their English journey, start small, but dream big. Learn one song, watch one episode, write one sentence at a time. Find your own green notebook, whatever form it takes. Remember that every native speaker was once a beginner, and every English teacher was once a student. Most importantly, be patient with yourself. Fluency isn't a destination. It's a journey that continues to unfold. Even now, I learn new words and expressions from my students, proving that language learning never truly ends. I still keep that worn green notebook, now filled with Beatles lyrics and teenage scribbles. It reminds me that every English learner has a story worth telling, including yours. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave a like and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel for more stories in English and lessons. Click the bell icon to be notified when we post new videos. Your support means a lot to us. See you next time.